Hi, I'm Marga Lunavi, one of Trump's closest consultants. And
I'm Noah Anzalak, and I'm UN Secretary General.
I'm the FAO representative for Group A, and it's about sustainable consumption and fishery. So basically our job is really important because we prepare.
Forcast works on doing innovation in pedagogy. Pedagogy that makes students learn by doing, that makes students learn how to make decisions in situations of uncertainty, and that works on how do they understand scientific and technical controversies. And so here at the Reims campus of Sciences Po, we've put together a simulation of negotiations for 340 students. So we're talking about a large-scale innovation and pedagogy project on food policy, and it's called the World Summit on the Future of Food. So these 340 students, they're playing the roles of many different stakeholders and countries in this negotiation, which lasts for a week.
You're going to play the role of a representative of a country, of an international organization, of an NGO, of a company, of a union, a journalist, a comedian.
I had never heard about Forcast. It was the first time I heard about it. I was very excited to see what it would be. So then I learned that my role would be to represent the Fiji Islands.
All of the roles are interesting. All of the roles give you an opportunity to express yourselves. I expect all of you to express yourselves in these negotiation working groups. I've designed the scenario so that everybody speaks.
I was like, what is FAO? I don't know about it at all. Then I did my homework, I do some research. It's a specialized agency of the United Nations, and it's the host of the whole negotiation.
What's interesting in this game is to play a role that perhaps you really didn't know anything about or that you disagree with. A lot of you are going to have to do that, because I know that most of you are idealists and hopeful for the future of the world. And some of these companies have not had a good relationship with the future of the world.
And I spent the last few days representing the Mushura Nishiro Corporation, which is a Japanese fishing company, for those of you who don't know. And this was kind of a really fun role to play, because I love being the evil person in the room.
Forcast organized a roundtable with experts and professionals.
These types of irreversibilities are also part of the problem. So there is a lot of a political problem. I completely concur with Gérard. But it's a strange thing because it's also connected to other types of technological irreversibilities and economic phenomena.
And the students were able to ask them many questions.
Do any of you believe that there's going to be a bubble within the farming agricultural market, sort of like a housing bubble crisis, but in an agricultural sense? Cheap products, antiquated methods, things like this. Will that lead to ultimately a downfall of this market that will be an emergency to take care of because of the world population growing and all these other factors? That's my question.
Clearly, you had an answer from the farmers, because when you have a bubble, all the farmers, so when the prices are rising, all the farmers around the world, what are they doing when you have a bubble? They're producing more and more. They're using all the feeds they have, and they're producing. So very quickly after the bubble, the prices are going down. And this is what we have in the last two bubbles, in 2008, 2007 and 8 and 2011.
On the second day, we went into small groups called the workshops. So we had to deliver speeches and to convince the others, but we couldn't use words, only gestures and sounds. So it was entirely new, it was difficult, and we understood how body language was important.
Say no to GMO! Say no to GMO! Say no to GMO! Say no to GMO! It is not free trade if the workers are enslaved!
We had organized this sort of small-scale protest, the Van Vashivas, which are all my group of activist and non-governmental organization members. And we all said, hey, how about we have a real protest over here in the courtyard?
Ecocide is suicide!
Ecocide is suicide!
Ecocide is suicide!
Ecocide is suicide!
I was going to be able to use that protest as a platform to express my own ideas and as a platform to sort of pass on the messages that were important to me.
And we need to adopt these new practices before letting them suffocate in the air. Studying them to make sure that the process is not painful.
A war against the earth is a war against people.
And then it was the UN Secretary General that opened the summit officially with a speech and then announced the working group negotiations for the rest of the week.
At the United Nations, we cannot stress enough the importance of your presence and involvement in this summit, as we are talking about issues that have tremendous impacts, not only on our planet, but on our global future and daily lives as well. On behalf of the whole United Nations staff, we officially declare the 2017 World Summit open.
And land grabbing contracts.
Yeah, so right now the most important thing you need to do is focus on who you are and on your arguments and maybe some data, some things. And this afternoon you will really focus on your conference.
Oh, this is actually really interesting. So they also talk about, they don't only talk about like animal transportation when they're going to like a slaughterhouse, for example. Like they also talk about it for like just like animal owners.
Well, our first job is to write the negotiation text, which is going to be which can be used during the whole negotiations. Each one of delegation have 1 minute to present, to speech, to say everything regarding to our to our topic. And then we are going to the official negotiation part.
But they understand that this whole architecture of ideas circulating throughout society is complex, and we've tried to create a microcosm of society for this week. And they've completely understood right from the get-go that they were dealing with a linkage of issues, a multidisciplinary format of negotiations and of discussions and of public policy.
I was actually in group 9, which was focused on sustainable fishing.
VMS, as you're a big company, what do you mind? What's the problem for you of VMS? You are storage, you can offer it. Now it can help us, emerging countries that have been overfished, exploited, to have our seas back.
And one of the things I really found about the way in which negotiations happened, because everyone has to agree, it was the most disagreeable people who really dominated the debate. So the big fisheries companies played a big role. We objected to everything. But enforcing it is not a realistic solution. It is ultimately not an effective use of resources if you want to stop illegal fishing. We need to look at innovation in how we track ships, but VMS is not the efficient way to do that, and it relies on cooperation from poachers who know what they're doing is illegal. So why would they install VMS?
For me, the 100% the most interesting, fun, and engaging part of the week was the fact that even though I was, like head of the HSA, which is like a small UK-based NGO, I was able to take a really big part in the negotiations. And we also think that this proposition is reasonable, given that it considers the side effects on the cattle that the use of this organic chemical would have, which is weight gain.
They're learning these complexities of different places and formats of how to negotiate, and they're learning the complexity of trying to deal with the reconciliation between their positions and the positions of other stakeholders.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is CNN exclusive debate at the World Food Summit is currently taking place here at the Reims campus.
Students representing CNN, they held a debate where they invited up to 15 guests for 3 different debates.
We want this to be a ferocious debate, guys. All right? Okay.
So yes, I did participate in the CNN debate that we had. It was a very interesting dialogue that we had.
China is looking at taking no responsibility for the horrible fishing practices that their own people have. They have absolutely no interest in saving sharks, I can tell you that much.
I didn't have money to lose, I didn't have reputation to lose. I just had my own research as a marine biologist, and I was able to really kind of be a provocateur in a way.
This must be placed on a national scale.
The delegation of India thinks that it's quite unfair to impose the same number for all countries because they're of different sizes, with different number of people. Like India, we have 1.3 billion of people, so we need to feed them, and yeah, I think it's unfair to put the same number for developing and underdeveloped countries.
Is the delegate of India aware that the expert said that these numbers should be adapted in order of the different level of development of the countries, as the delegate of India is totally right in saying that the same numbers and quotas should not be applied to developing or developed countries, but must be adapted. And maybe the expert did not say it clearly enough, but that is what she meant.
So yeah, in the beginning of the negotiations, I was really shy. I didn't want to intervene, just to see what it would be.
Wouldn't it be better to maybe say promoting investment from corporations this time to LEDCs and not financial aid campaigns? Because aid campaigns is like giving money for free, but investment, I mean, then corporations will be willing to get something back. So.
Yeah.
But then I really wanted to intervene in the debate and to defend the Fiji. So I raised my hand and I took the microphone and spoke, and it was amazing.
Going back to point 3, I'm afraid that the companies do not invest in the countries that are the most in need. I think this is interesting, but this is not enough.
Some of my propositions were deleted, sadly, but it happens sometimes because we have to negotiate. But one was adopted.
So the simulation with Forcast is a very, very huge thing for us, and we are very happy and very proud that it could be organized for our students. Why is it important for us? Because it's another way to discover what Sciences Po is about and what Sciences Po's methodology is made of. It's more engaged already in some specific topics. They have to prepare files, they have to prepare presentations, they have to debate, they have to convince their fellow students.
Welcome to the closing plenary of the 2017 World Food Summit. In the past 3 days, we have seen heated debates, passionate speeches, and an incredible diversity in new ideas with one goal only: to make our food model a more sustainable one.
My first observation is that it is a very positive experience, in my opinion, for them in terms of learning about these issues.
Requested the mandatory imposition of vessel monitoring systems, which would therefore allow tracking and GPS locations of vessels in international waters.
While making sure that a percentage of the crops are organic and benefit people from the developing countries.
The quality of their debate, of the elements they bring into their arguments, is very high. And to see students that haven't had any training at higher education yet, because we're talking about students that were in high school a couple of months ago, it is very admirable, and it is very encouraging to see how well, once you get into the role-playing game, once you discuss and debate these issues with your peers, how well they learn and how fast they learn.
I hope that none of the people lose the strength of their criticism that they attacked us with.
I think I grew up really during this week, from the beginning, and now I'm not the same person.